So my name is Jeanette Joseph, and I'm a co-founder of J4 Systems. I head up our business development department. Today's presenters are Trevor Smith, who has worked at J4 Systems for about 2 years. Prior to J4 Systems, Trevor was in the United States Marine Corps, where he was a data network specialist. He has also been a network administrator as an integral part of our network operating center on a daily basis. He works with dozens of companies of ours throughout California. Our second presenter is John Joseph. He's a co-founder of J4 Systems, and he heads up our technical team. John has 30 plus years of experience working with companies such as cities, counties, municipalities, and the enterprise level organizations. J4 Systems is a 26-year-old information technology company and partners with Microsoft, Cisco, Citrix, VMware, HP, and more. We also hold a CMAS certification that allows us to work with the state agencies within California.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to make sure we're recording real quickly.
We are.
Okay.
Yes, we are recording it.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Dan joined.
Sure. So as a network integrator, our engineers specialize in many types of technology: security, virtualization, disaster recovery, and of course, Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, voice, and collaboration. And with that, I'm going to let Trevor go ahead and take away our team's presentation.
Thank you, Jeanette, for that lovely introduction. Thank you and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining our Teams webinar. So today we're just going to be talking about the desktop version of Teams. I'll give you a brief introduction. So what is Teams? Essentially, Teams is a persistent chat-based collaboration platform. It's complete with document sharing, online meetings, and it has several other extremely useful features. This is extremely useful right now, especially during COVID-19. There's a lot of people working remotely and either working from home or what have you. So it's a great way to stay connected in today's times. Teams is currently available on your Android devices as well as iOS. It's available for download on Windows, Mac, and Linux. And additionally, there's a free web version as well that you can connect to. Requirements to get Teams: you just need access to the internet, and most Microsoft or Office 365 plans include Teams already. And additionally, in response to COVID-19, Microsoft is releasing or has a free version for those that don't currently have a plan. So let's go ahead and jump into the client here. So here is the actual Teams client. Let me make sure you guys can see my screen here. All right, so here is the actual Teams client. So in it, you'll see at the left-hand side, you kind of have your main navigation menus. So starting at the top, we have an activity feed. This is very similar to like Facebook. This essentially shows you all of your recent activity. So in it, you can see your last people that have replied to you, any voicemails or anything like that, any reactions to comments or messages that you've left. So it's just an all-in-one, hub to see your recent activity. You can filter in this guy here, so we can type in server, and you can see any conversations that pertain to server, etc. So let's go ahead and move on down to the chat section here. So the chat's pretty straightforward here as well. This is just a good hub to have either one-on-one conversations with individuals, conversations with multiple people or groups, or you can have team conversations in here. So this is a pretty powerful tool right here. So in here, there's a couple ways. You can also do another filter. So if you wanted to search through your previous contacts, you can do so as well. But if you wanted to start a new chat message, so if you wanted to start a new message, as I said, Teams is persistent. So if I'm typing a new message to John, let's say, right now you can see all of John and I's prior conversations. So if I wanted to add in Jeanette, you'll now see that this is switched over to show a display of just the conversations that John, Jeanette, and I are all part of. One important thing to note here is if Jeanette was added to this conversation later on, she wouldn't be able to see the prior communication that just John and I had. It's only going to show shared communication between the teams. So within this chat window, you can see it's pretty straightforward. You have your communication history here. At the bottom, you have an area to type new messages. So I'll just do a hello, everyone. So here you can see it's going to send a message to John and Jeanette. Below the message block, you have an area to edit and add maybe a little bit more descriptive text. You can bold, italic, underline, strike through, add a whole bunch of other good styling features in case you want to send a cleaner message to the group. Moving on, you also have an option to change the delivery method. So if you want to send a standard message, which is what I've been sending, you can do so. That's selected by default. If you want to make the mark the message as a little bit more urgent, you can select important, and that'll outline the message in red. And then you can also use urgent, and this will make a nice flag, and this will send a ping notification to the user's desk every 2 minutes for 20 minutes until they actually review or take a look at that message. So that's pretty handy in case you need something done. And additionally, you can attach files. So you can attach files from OneDrive or from your machine. You can have the basic options to use emojis. You can search through them a little bit more specifically to find key ones. GIFs, same thing. If you want to search GIFs, you can just type in random keywords here if you want to express yourself a little bit more clearly. We have stickers as well, so this is pretty fun. If you want to have teams, you can, make little fun little memes for your guys. And hitting enter, or you can hit this little envelope icon there to send a message. Moving on, you can also launch a meeting and schedule a meeting with the participants of this chat. So it would prompt John and Jeanette for a meeting. So I can actually go ahead and do this right now. And you can see it opens a nice little scheduling assistant for us. Close this for now. I'll show you guys a more in-depth way to do that. And then there's also a way to send praise. So if you wanted to actually, shout out a team member for doing a good job on something, you could do so. You would just want to select the praise icon, enter in a user, make a little personalized message and a preview, and you can send that off, and anybody in this group can, see what you were shouting out John for. So that's pretty cool. Are there any questions on the chat before I move on to the explaining Teams itself?
I'm not seeing any questions yet. I did open a chat window on the right, so in case anybody has a question, they can just type it right there.
Wonderful, thank you so much. One quick thing before I leave this menu, you'll see these quick access buttons. They're pretty much everywhere in Teams. There's usually option to do a video call, audio call, either share your screen, or you'll also see options to jump into meetings. So it makes it pretty easy, no matter where you are, to kind of either start a meeting or start collaborating at least with other members in your team. Okay, so moving on to Teams now. So Teams, this is the main portal in which you guys might be using. It's pretty heavy in terms of capabilities. So over here, you'll notice you have a bunch of headers. These are your actual teams. So teams are groups of people that are going to collaborate together on certain things. These can usually be departments or certain projects that individuals are working on. So that's how you generally want to set up a team. And then within each team, you have these subfolders here, and these are your channels. Every team will have a general channel created by default. So anything else are manually created. So here we'll just jump into the server consolidation and infrastructure channel. And in this channel, we're trying to limit everything that we're talking about to solely server consolidation and infrastructure. That's the whole point of the channel, to keep yourself organized and to keep your files as it pertains to this channel organized as well. So when you jump in your channel, what you'll notice is at the top, the primary view is your posts view. So anytime you jump into a channel, it'll automatically take you to your posts. And this is just a quick summary of your last conversations. So you can see here, we've had a couple of conversations today between John and I and John and Jeanette, and as well in the past. One thing to note in here, it's a little bit different than the chat window. If you hit reply right here, it will actually keep the message contained within this communication block. However, if you wanted to start a brand new conversation, you would want to select this block and it will create a whole entire new section. And one thing to notice here is you'll notice that it says to start a new conversation, type the @ to mention someone. So this is very much like most social media platforms nowadays, where you hit the @ sign, and at this point it will go through any of your contacts, and so you can add in contacts as such. So there we go. So this is sending a brand new message to John and Jeanette for today. So I just wanted to highlight that. Also, if you do end up utilizing multiple @ mentions and you don't want to have to call, John, Jeanette, and maybe 5 other users within one window, what you can actually do is you can create a tag in your team. So in your team, you just want to hit the ellipsis icon right here and select Manage Tags. This opens up a little wizard here, so we can create a tag. And let's say we want to add John. Let's create a tag name, sorry, presenters. And we'll go ahead and add some individuals to this tag. So we'll add John, we'll add Jeanette, and then we'll also add Ivan. So when we create this, now when we do an @ mention to presenter, you can see that it has it created that tag for us presenters, and anytime we want to send a message to those 3 individuals, it will just it'll do so with just that one tag. So that's a pretty powerful and easy way to shout out a bunch of people if you need quick responses or just want to update everyone. Okay, moving out of the posts section, we're going to jump over to the files side here. So the files, again, any files that are shared within this channel will be saved in this Files tab. So if you have Word files, anything like that, they'll all be saved within here as long as you actually move them into Teams. You can also create new folders and files. So if you wanted to create a brand new Word document, you could do so. So we'll just create a new test document. And this will open up Word within Teams, so you don't actually have to open up the application itself. So that's pretty nice. So you can see here, it created the new test Word document. If you have a bunch of other things going on, like you're actively using SharePoint, you might need to upload or sync some certain files. It all depends on your internal processes and how you guys are doing things. Moving on over to the Wikis tab here. This is actually pretty powerful too if you guys ever need to create, for example, a knowledge base or any job aids. One good example might be if you have a user that is going to be away for some vacation and they are have a critical task, and that task theoretically could not be done without them. This could be a great spot for you to actually put in some how-to steps and assign certain users to this channel so that they can have access to know how to do that process. And of course, it's a little bit more consolidated than having multiple files shared on your network somewhere that might not be up to date. So this is one of the many uses for a wiki. I'll come back to this VM list. I just wanted to show you in here. You have the option to add in several other tabs to this window bar up here. So if you wanted to add in, let's say, a certain Excel file or a certain Word document and just have it posted to this channel, you could do so by using this. So we've already actually created one, and it's the VM list that you saw there, and it's an Excel file. So I'm just going to open up this guy right here. And the great thing about, because it's back-ended in SharePoint, everything that we're doing in here, and whoever has access to this channel actually has the ability to co-edit the files as well. So I'm in this document here, so I'm going to edit this, and you can see John is already in this document, and he's edited this field right here. So this is really awesome if you guys, I know one common issue I run into sometimes is when I'm updating files or documents, I run into the problem where another user is already in this file and updating and it's locked. So then I have to kind of create a read-only copy or create another copy, and it just kind of makes a mess of things. So this really makes it so that you guys can actually collaborate together, update the same files, and make sure you guys aren't kind of double dipping the same work. So this is really great. So this is our server consolidation list. So as you can see, if John and I were working on this, we can make changes to this list without affecting or messing up anybody's workflow. So that's really awesome. Okay, were there any questions on teams or channels?
Yes, there's a question and from Doug Fisher. Hi, Doug, from Aldea, great client. His question is, can you make files in a channel read only, or do all members have full access?
So all members do have full access by default. You can check out a file, and that should effectively do that. It also automatically saves versions of the file, so you can pull up old versions or revert.
Does that answer your question, Doug?
I don't know. Yeah, there isn't a way to specifically make it read-only.
What if you opened it in SharePoint?
Well, it is in SharePoint, so.
No, I mean, there's an actual option to open it in SharePoint rather than in Teams.
Yes, you click open in SharePoint, that'll open the SharePoint library.
But that still doesn't.
But I don't know that you can apply that to a specific file.
Okay. I kind of knew the answer. I was just wondering if there's been any changes.
No.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for your question, Doug. Were there any others?
No, there are no other questions right now.
Alrighty. So let's move on to the search really quickly. So the search menu, pretty self-explanatory. You can pretty much search for any of your content and your recent messages, your files, and many other things. So I'm going to hit this backslash for you. So this is actually like a shortcut menu. So if you hit this backslash, you can actually change your activity, your availability. You can call somebody. You can do a whole bunch of quick actions from here. And hitting the backslash keys lets you kind of see a shortcut list of all the shortcuts within Teams. So this is also pretty handy. Okay, so now we're going to jump down over to calls here. So Teams is great for making peer-to-peer calls as well as video calls. My client here might look a little bit different from some of yours. We allow PSTN calling, so we can call outside members that are not using Teams. So we use this as our main phone system. But in here, you guys should pretty much have most of these same options. There's an option to create speed dials. So you can just create a new speed dial contact, type a name or a number. So if I wanted to add Jeanette, I could do so. Or if I wanted to type in a specific number, I could do so as well. And then fill it in. As a speed dial. So in here, it will show it added her as another contact, and if I can also create new groups as well, if I needed to organize my speed dials or any of my contacts for that matter. So this is pretty much just a quick area for you to go in and see your contacts and your speed dials. Then you also have your contact menu. Same thing. There's little shortcuts here to enter chat windows with that specific user. You can send emails, open up a video conference, and just a normal call. Then you have your call history as well as any voicemails. So now let's, I'm going to show you guys how to schedule meetings within Teams. First, let's jump into Outlook, just because I have a feeling you guys are probably more or less familiar with scheduling them in here. First, so if I wanted to create a meeting in Teams, a brand new Teams meeting, what I can do is I can click anywhere in here on my calendar just to select a date and time, and then I can come up to the new Teams meeting icon. I'll select this. And one thing to notice when you launch this in Outlook, it will automatically give you this Microsoft Teams meeting menu. But when you actually launch the same meeting in Teams, which I'll show you in a second, this doesn't show until after you create the meeting. Just a little quirk. So let's give this this meeting here a title, webinar. And in the required people, let's add Jeanette and John. And since these guys are in my organization, I'm not too concerned with their privacy because this is all going to be internal. But let's say I wanted to add another user that's outside of our organization and I wanted to kind of protect their email address. What you can actually do is add in a resource under the resources here. And then what will happen is this user will be invited, but when the email is actually sent out, they won't, John and Jeanette wouldn't be able to see Jenny's email address. And that's because she would be listed as a resource and not required. So that's just one thing to note if you're trying to keep certain email addresses anonymous. And then at the top here, you have your scheduling assistant. This is great if you need to quickly view John and Jeanette's availability. You can see what they're scheduled for today. So it looks like this time works. So we can go ahead and schedule that meeting if we needed to. And then, of course, you can always add more text to the body of the message itself. I'll go ahead and send that out. And let's go jump back into the Teams portal here. One thing you might notice is the calendar item didn't quite show up. So sometimes if you just exit out and come back into the menu, it will reappear for you. So let's jump into this menu. You can go ahead and just double click it. And here you'll see the meeting invite as we created it. One thing to note, in this field, you can't actually hide or keep certain email addresses anonymous. So I just wanted to point that out. Any email addresses or users that are added in this line will not be hidden from outside your organization. So also in here, there's meeting notes. So before you want to start your meeting, you can actually take a bunch of notes. And it'll sync it with this meeting so that they're available for everybody to see. Additionally, you can also add in certain files for the meeting. So share everything there. Once you're in a meeting, let me bring over this other screen here. Once you're in a meeting like we are today, you'll see you have quite a lot of controls as to what you can actually do. So over here, you'll see that currently I'm the presenter and everybody except for Dan here is unmuted. So just as an example, we can mute this participant if he was making some sort of noise. He wasn't, so thank you. Going on, we have a couple more things. We can hide this participant menu. We can show the conversation. So any chats or anything like that, they'll show up in here. If you need to raise your hand to, kind of interrupt politely, you can do so as well. And when we go back to the participants, you'll see that it just shows a little hand icon there for you guys. this little ellipsis gives you a bunch of other settings as well, a different way to display the views that you see here. You can go full screen, apply different background effects. So if you want to have different images while you're presenting, while you're sharing your screen, or while you're actually presenting itself, your background is a little bit blurred and looks nicer. Go down here, and then I also wanted to show, there are a couple options I can't quite show you in this meeting right now, but when you're hosting a meeting, you will normally see an icon that looks like this, and this is an option to share your screen. And when you do that, you can actually share quite a few options. So if you have multiple screens, you can select which screen you want to, the viewers to see. And and you can also select certain windows that you have open, any files that you specifically have open, or if you have a Microsoft Whiteboard, which is a virtual whiteboard, you can share your ideas and collaborate there as well. So that's some of the additional things that you can do within Teams meetings. And then I don't know if you guys can actually see this or not, but screen, you will see a red border, and that lets you know that you are in fact sharing your screen. So just keep that in mind. All right, were there any other questions?
No, but I believe John, why don't you go ahead and explain the question before?
Just that I gave Doug wrong information. You actually can manage access and create and mark a file read-only. Doug went in and tried that and found that it's similar to OneDrive. So I added a screenshot to the chat on that.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you, John. Also, we do have a question, and it is, if you have multiple desktop monitors, do you have an option to share your secondary monitor display?
Yes. So in this screen, I'm not sure if you can see the image, but if you have like 3 monitors, this will say screen 1. This one is screen 2. So right now I'm sharing my primary desktop. This is my secondary one. So I have all my notes and stuff for the webinar on this screen. And then all the open windows. So if you had like Internet Explorer or Chrome, you could share just that specific window or specific files.
Okay, great.
But yes, you can definitely share your any of your screens specifically.
Okay, and then there's a question, is there a way to send out a poll to obtain best dates and times for a meeting?
In Exchange Outlook.
So you can actually use Exchange Outlook and create a Teams meeting, which is the way that I do it. So yes. Is that correct, John?
And in there, you'd probably want to use the scheduling assistant once all the members have been added, just to see if there's any conflicts. So if you're once you added in a bunch of users, I'll just show you a quick example here. Since I have access to all of their actual calendars, I should be able to see when I hit the scheduling assistant all of their pre-determined appointments. So right now I can see that this time probably won't work. So I'd have to move it over to accommodate filling it in for, looks like John and Jeanette. So this would probably be a better way, unless there's another way that John's aware of.
Okay.
So that's how you can show, if you have rights to people's calendar, you can show that. But if you need to send a poll, you can just create one within Outlook.
Sounds good.
And it'll tell you.
Okay. We have a question from Dan. Are the speed dials stored in a new contact list, or is any of the team contacts integrated with Outlook contacts?
It will read your Outlook contacts, but the speed dials are a separate list.
Okay. Lindsay asks, when creating a meeting for people outside of an organization, is there a way to control how it is shown on the calendar invite? For example, it defaults to showing Lindsay scheduled a meeting, but what if I want the description to show the topic case we are working on?
So if you're creating a meeting invite, either from within Well, the easiest way to have the most control is to create the invite from Outlook with the Teams plugin. So when you go ahead and bring up an Outlook meeting, you can edit anything in here. So title, and then the any of the text that's in the body there, you can edit that.
So basically the answer is yes, you can title it whatever you want it to title.
Yeah, you can put it whatever title you want there.
Okay, sounds good. And then we have another question, and that is, are people outside of an organization automatically added to a waiting lobby? Can you change this? Can anyone let them into the meeting, or does it have to be the creator of the meeting?
So anybody who's a presenter can admit somebody in the lobby. So anybody who's, so like, actually you guys are all presenters on this meeting. You guys all have the ability to admit somebody to this meeting. If you're not marked as a presenter, so let's go to, yeah, go there. You can demote somebody. So go ahead and hover over somebody, click the little ellipses.
You could demote me.
And you can make them an attendee. Once, if they're an attendee and not a presenter, they do not have the ability to admit somebody from the lobby. So that's a good question.
So you could, but you could make everybody a presenter if you want them to be able to.
By default, they are, and we didn't change that behavior, but you can go to the meeting options. So if you hit the little ellipses, Trevor, since I wasn't the meeting creator, I can't do this, but go to meeting details where you were. And then down below, it's really small print. It says meeting options. Click that. And this is also something you can do. We'll show you where you can edit it before the meeting starts, but this is while the meeting's going. So these are the meeting options. So who can bypass the lobby? By default, it's people in your organization are admitted without being in the lobby. But you can change this to everyone or only yourself. So that would be the behavior of the meeting moving from that point forward, from whenever you make this change. So go ahead and click, yeah. Always let callers bypass the lobby. So a caller would be a PSTN caller, somebody who's dialing a phone number. And then announce when callers join or leave. So if you don't want to hear that announcement, you can turn that off here. And then here's who can present. By default, it's everyone, but you can drop that down and you can make it only me or specific people.
That's great. All right.
So actually, let's just show where to navigate to this screen for a meeting that hasn't begun yet. I thought we already showed it, but basically you can go to the calendar here and click on any meeting. Go to the Teams in the Teams client. I'm sorry, where you were, Trevor. In the Teams client. And then you can open any of these meetings. And you'll see meeting options at the top there. So if he clicks on meeting options, it will take you to that screen for this meeting. So you can preset all these options before the meeting begins. So if you don't want people to be held up in a lobby, you can set that here to everyone. It's more of a security thing. If you think somebody might be busting into your meeting or something like that. So anyway, so that's how you can navigate to this screen. Okay, so we have some other questions. Let's see.
Well, yeah, there was a comment from Mateo Ortiz, but I think we could talk about that probably at the end. I think it's about Teams overall, it seems like. And but there's a question. Lindsay Davis is saying, some people cannot see my photo. Is this because they do not have the app, or do I need to change a setting to allow people outside of my organization to see my photo?
I'd have to see it. I thought everyone could see the photo if you have a profile photo. I've not seen it being blocked, but maybe it does. Maybe that's a behavior. I haven't really looked at that.
Okay, so Lindsay, we'll circle back around with you on that and see if we can get that.
Can you guys see Sherry's photo or my photo? Sherry has one and I have one, but Jeanette doesn't.
Sure. Also, so Mark Peterson, if you go to the very top of your Teams bar where you see the hand and you see the little 3 dots. If you left click there and scroll down to full screen, and then if you go and then you do it again and you go into let's see, full screen and focus and check both of those, then you should be able to see the presentation a little bit bigger.
Okay, so you say you don't see Sherry's photos, so I guess it is blocking photos for external users. I would have to look into that setting. There might be a setting for.
No, I can see it.
I can see all J4 photos, but nobody else. And this is Doug.
Okay, so within your own client, right? Not looking at Trevor's client here.
Oh, wait.
Okay, so Lindsay can see it now, but not in the participants windows. I can't either. I can't see them either. But Mario can see them. It's interesting, John. We'll have to circle back on with Microsoft on that.
I'll research it.
Okay. All right. Why don't we continue? Because there's a few more things to cover. I know some people are time limited, and we promised to cover certain things, so we'll do that. And then we could stay on longer for anybody who wants to stay on and go over other things. But we'll continue with Trevor's presentation.
Alrighty, I just had a couple more things to show. It's pretty much just the user presence options and some user settings. So in here, you'll see at the top, if you have a picture, you should see your profile picture. Otherwise, if you don't, you'll see just some initials. So here, you can change your picture. You can change your status. So if you're ever away or on a call, you can let everyone know. You can also set a status message. You can call somebody to your message and let them know specifically, and then let them also set this message to expire after a certain amount of time. Here's some also shortcuts to your settings. So if you ever wanted to change the style of Teams itself, you can put a dark background, high contrast settings, just some generic application options here. Privacy settings, etc. like that. Notifications, if you want to maybe tone down some of the alerts that you're getting from your activity, you can change that as well. Some general device settings, if you need to change your audio devices, if you're getting sound or some people can hear you but can't, you might have to play around with your speakers and your microphone settings. Any permissions that you see here for Teams, as well as some basic call settings, change your ringtones and how these settings might be a little bit different depending on your ability on how your individual organization's rights to call. You might not be able to forward to certain lines, but other than that, this should pretty much be the same for everybody. All right, and with that, that pretty much concludes my portion. I'm just going to hand it off to John now to discuss some the more Teams administrative tasks.
John, I believe you're muted.
Thank you for that. I didn't realize I was muted. Okay. I shared my screen. I'm going to talk about some of the administrative stuff. So looking at a team, I'm going to show you how to create a team. The way you create them is down here, you click the join or create team button or link down at the bottom. And you can either create a team or join a team with a code. We'll talk about that in a sec. So if I create a team, I get a bunch of options. I can create from scratch. I can copy an existing team, which is useful if you've got like a project team or something that has similar content and you want to bring the files over and stuff like that. So I could copy an existing team, or I can use one of a number of templates. These templates are new. This is a new feature. I'm going to go ahead and create one from scratch just to show you. And you'll see there's 3 options here. Private, public, and org-wide. If you're a government entity, you won't see org-wide. That's only for private organizations. A public team, anyone can join. You have to request to join, and the organizers still have to admit you, but anybody can request to join a public team. A private team is hidden from is hidden from people. And so you have to be invited to join a private team. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like when you create a public team. You give it a name, and then you just click create. I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to show you how to administrate an existing team. So I'm going to discard this one. So if I go into this team and hit the little ellipses, I have some options, and this is one of them is to manage the team. And you'll see under here, I've got all my members and 2 owners. If I want to invite more members to the team as an owner, I can do that. So I would click add member, and I can type somebody in my organization and it'll populate, or I can invite somebody outside my organization. I would just type an email address. And then I can add that person as a guest. So if you've given permissions to allow guest users to participate in teams, in your organization's teams, it will allow your end users to add guest users to your teams, people outside your organization, guest or federated. Once you've populated your team members, you can then come over here and you can promote somebody to an owner if you wanted to. So we always recommend having at least 2 owners of a team. That way, if one of the owners is on vacation or something, the other owner can do the administrative stuff needed for the team. And that includes adding and removing members. So to remove a member, you just click the little X next to them. And Trevor had mentioned tags. You can also manage tags from this screen. So I can create a new tag, or I can add an existing tag to a given user. So coming over here, I can type a tag name, or I can just select an existing tag. So it's pretty easy to manage it from this screen. You have here for the team is you can choose who can create tags. By default, only team owners can create tags. You can see on this team, I've opened it up so that even members can create tags. And that's something the team owner has to do. They have to go ahead and allow that to happen. Also, as a team owner, I can turn off some of the fun stuff like Giphies, stickers, memes, etc. And I can prevent that if I really want to keep it business-like and not have the fun stuff within our conversations, I can turn that stuff off here. Here's where you can generate that code that you can share with somebody so they can join the team. You can allow who can do @mentions and stuff like that. So if you don't want that, if this particular team you don't want to have that ability, you can turn that off here. And then you can control some of the permissions that guest users have. So you can keep guest users from adding or deleting channels, etc. And you can even add a picture for your team. Over here on the apps tab, by default, private companies have pretty much all the apps already there. By default, government entities do have to manually populate these apps into here. They're not there by default. Government entities are more secure. All right, moving on, I'm going to show you how to create a channel. So to create a channel within a team, you right-click on the team name. You can simply click Add Channel, and then type a name for your channel and a description. There are, again, 2 types of channels, standard and private. A standard channel, everyone on the team automatically has access to that channel and all the content within that channel. With a private channel, you can restrict that channel to a subset of the team members. So you can specify who within the team has access to the channel. This is useful if you have guest or external users on a team and there are certain content you don't want them having access to. So this would be a way to manage that content. All right, now I'm going to show you the team's admin portal. There's a couple ways to get here. One of them is just to go into your main admin center, and from here you can just select teams from the main admin center, or just navigate to admin.teams.microsoft.com. So this part of it, just type that in and it will take you right to this screen, or it will take you to this admin portal. So under the admin portal, you can manage your teams by clicking here. So you'll see a list of all the teams in my organization. So this is the only place where you can delete a team or archive it. So you would check box the team you want to do something to. Then you could delete it or archive it. If you archive it, then it won't accept any new content or changes, but you still have access to the content that's there. If you delete it, it's gone. Editing a team lets you change the name and some of the permissions here. Not much. All right, I did mention that you could control access to, guest access. So you have a couple settings here: external access. So these would be federated users outside your organization. By default, most tenants are set up as open federation. So you would just have this set to on and this set to on, and you would not add any domains, because as soon as you add a single domain to this list, you've now created a whitelist, and only the domains listed will be allowed to federate. So if you want that, you can do that. But if you leave it blank like this, then you're what's called open federation, and you're able to communicate with any other domain that's open federation. Guest access. So this is where I can turn on guest access and allow guests to join my organization's teams. And there's some other settings. And that's pretty much all I'm going to cover today. Thank you for your time. If you have any specific questions, go ahead and let us know, and I'll turn it over to Jeanette.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I was actually talking to Diana yesterday. We were chatting with Diana from LD. I think she's on this presentation today. And it was really fun being able just to, chat with somebody outside. Mateo Ortiz has a couple of comments. He said, honestly, the most frustrating part of Teams is to make it sync with your domain. I forgot all the craziness that he had to go through in order to make it sync with my Outlook. I did have an extra that a previous admin had registered the domain to his account. I'm not sure if I'm reading this right, but that's
all right,
it.
Let me read it.
And then also he mentioned if you don't have a domain added organization, you can't access certain apps.
So are you speaking to managed domains within Office 365, Mateo?
Why don't we give him a call on the side, John?
Yeah.
Maybe that might make a little bit more
Hello.
sense. Then you guys can talk get a little bit more technical. I'll just kind of wrap this up. I know there might be some other questions too. I think his are a little bit more technical. Oh, Dan is asking, please summarize the difference between Teams, Skype, and Skype for Business.
Okay, Skype is a consumer product. Microsoft bought it, I don't know, several years ago. Skype is used to communicate, like, video calls and stuff like that. It was a consumer-based product. It's free. Microsoft bought it, and then after they bought it, they decided that it was such a well-known brand, they were going to rename their Link product. I don't know if you guys remember the name Link, but basically Link got renamed to Skype for Business. So Skype and Skype for Business are two completely different products. Skype for Business was just Link rebranded. In fact, Skype for Business 2013 was just that. There were no changes to the product at all. It just got a new name. And then Skype for Business 2015 was the first release under the, full release under the Skype for Business name. So at that point, Skype for Business was an on-prem solution for instant messaging, video calling, et cetera, within an organization or also within a federated organization. When Microsoft rolled out Office 365, one of the key components they rolled out was Skype for Business Online. So they basically just ported the Skype for Business product, which was Link, into Office 365. On a parallel track, they started developing Teams. And Teams was originally positioned against Slack, a product called Slack. And Slack was the primary thing around Slack was called persistent chat. Similar to instant messaging, except that they don't go away. They're not momentary. You see them, they're always there, they're referenced, and you can have chats around different content like files, meetings, etc. And so that's the way what Teams was developed. At some point, Microsoft decided to migrate all the Skype for Business functionality into Teams, which they did. And Skype for Business, Skype Online, Skype for Business Online is legacy now. It's being retired. It won't be around much longer. Probably by the end of the year, it'll be almost completely gone. So if you're on Skype, you need to move to Teams.
Okay, it sounds like that makes sense.